What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a movie directed by Lucio Fulci that I have been very excited to watch because one of my best friends in the world, Nate, who always recommends me incredible movies that are just like wild experiences. I really appreciate him a lot. He has great taste, and he has recommended this movie to me a few times because he knows how wild my taste is and how much I like weird, bizarre cinema. And last year, or maybe the year before, I reviewed Fulci's The Beyond. I really enjoyed that movie despite having some criticisms about its pacing, and I feel like there are things that could be tidied up. But similar to like Argento and a lot of Italian horror filmmakers, it's just such a cool vision that has amazing visual effects and a really great soundtrack that I was like, okay, whatever else Fulci's going to put out, I'm going to be interested in watching. The cover of this movie alone is like enough for me to be like, oh yeah, I'm on board, whatever this is going to be. And the movie I'm going to be discussing with you today is The Devil's Honey. The Devil's Honey is directed by Lucio Fulci. A young woman abducts a doctor whom she holds responsible for the death of her boyfriend and subjects him to various sexual torture acts. So I was really excited to watch this movie, and I had a lot of fun watching this. It is ridiculous. It's hilarious. Surprisingly, the third act goes in a direction that really took me by surprise, and I'm excited to talk about this movie with you today. So at the beginning of the film, we are introduced to a young couple, Jessica and Johnny, and Johnny is a saxophonist, and he is recording music in a studio, and the two of them in the studio start getting incredibly handsy during his performance to where the people working sound are like, all right, we're going to take a little bit of a break here. And Johnny is so filled with hormones and sexual tension that he's got to get it out right there. And the way that he decides to sexually pleasure his girlfriend is by playing the saxophone on her in a way that is one of the most hilarious things I think I've ever watched in any movie. I was laughing so hard that I couldn't breathe, honestly. Like, it was just so ridiculous. And so we get elements of their relationship, and he seemingly from the very get-go seems like a really kind of abusive asshole, like from the first few scenes. And he ends up dying. He gets in a motorcycle accident, hurts himself. It ends up causing him to pass out at some point. They take him to the hospital, which then we're introduced to Dr. Wendell Simpson, who is married to this woman who he is constantly having affairs on because she's not fulfilling him sexually. He's into some really strange, wild stuff that we see him hire some sex workers, and he does some of those weird things, including a scene involving nail polish that is just one of the most wild sequences I've watched in a movie in quite some time. And so he is the one in charge of operating on Johnny, and he is all up in his head about the fact that his wife is going to leave him, and he botches the operation on Johnny, and Johnny dies on the operating table. Well, Jessica is obviously distraught. She loses her mind about the situation, and her entire sole purpose in life now is to murder this doctor. So she kidnaps him, takes him to this house in the middle of nowhere, and starts to perform these horrible, torturous acts on him. And that is the movie, is us watching her take out her revenge on this doctor. So as I said, this movie is absurd, wildly absurd. And I will say, it is incredibly entertaining. There are so many sequences in this that if I even began to start describing them to you, you probably wouldn't believe me. It's just one of those, you have to sit down and watch it because like your mind is trying to keep up and process every single thing that's happening on screen, which is something that I really appreciated about the movie. I really liked the way it's shot. Fulci clearly knows how to work with a cinematographer to make a very visually engaging film. There's a lot of really fantastic sequences in this movie that look really nice, and that's similar to The Beyond, really well shot. Obviously, you know, with Italian horror, the audio is dubbed. The mouths don't always match up. If that's something that bugs you, it's probably going to bug you in this movie, but I think it adds a level of charm to the film that makes it even more engaging to sit through. I don't know. I've always thought that even about like Argento films. I really like watching movies like this. They're just a lot of fun. And it takes a lot of twists and turns throughout the movie that I wasn't expecting. This movie is very, very sexual in a comical way. there's like scenes where a woman runs out of a hospital and her boob just like randomly flies out of her leather jacket. Like it's just absurd. Clearly, Fulci is very much into women's breasts, and he wanted to showcase it as much as humanly possible in this movie in like a laughable way, which makes the movie more entertaining, obviously. The gratuitous nudity, it's just like, but at a certain point, you're like, wow, this is like what was going through this guy's head, and you know exactly what was going through his head, which is what makes it more enjoyable. And I think that the movie is really interesting when it comes to power dynamics in a relationship and how abusive men can get to the point where they can psychologically abuse people in a relationship to think that the relationship was normal and that the relationship was operating regularly when it absolutely was not. And Jessica's character throughout the film voices her like opinions on certain situations, and that she doesn't feel comfortable with certain things, and and she's not respected whatsoever. And I think it's also interesting looking at the doctor's life and like his love for his wife, but at the same time his intense freaky sexual desires don't match up with what his wife is willing to give him. And so it just creates a really interesting film psychologically. The third act kind of twist reveal, there's like a really laughable scene in a movie theater that I was you just have to see it. It made me chuckle because of the actress who plays Jessica's facial expression in the moment. It's just like, it's completely and totally priceless. Like, you just have to watch it. It's ridiculous. And like I said, I mean, if you're into Italian horror or just Italian filmmaking in general from this specific era, you're going to have fun with this movie. It's not really horror, it's kind of more like a, honestly, it feels like a sleazy paperback novel or something. Like it gets into thrilling territory. It's obviously very overtly sexual. There is violence in the movie, but like the plot twists are not like super shocking. It's not like gonna blow your socks off. Like, oh man, this reveal changed my perspective. But it's fun and it's entertaining. And I think that's exactly what this movie sets out to be, is fun and entertaining. This is a movie I could easily see myself revisiting multiple times just for a good laugh. If you've seen any of Fulci's work, this is one of his I feel like doesn't get talked about nearly as much compared to like The Beyond or Zombie. Please watch this. It's very entertaining. So have you seen The Devil's Honey? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was incredibly entertaining. I had so much fun with it, and I can't wait to watch it again. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.